All right, guys, it's another weekly update of my miners. So this time I'm going to be a little faster than before, and I'm not going to cover my juniors because I only hold about 4 or 5. They're not the best, and I think it's better to focus on the seniors and the mediums, most of which you probably know. The juniors, maybe not. All right, let's start with the dollar. Dollar index is at serious resistance, in my opinion. I've got two long-term trend lines and one medium term. So this longer one here, stretching out from September 2022, I mean, it's pretty relevant. It's also coinciding with where we are now. It's just there's no sort of pivot point in a while. So I actually trust the second longer term one here. This one I really trust. And this also intertwines with where we are. And then finally, we have this horizontal one. So I've got 3 resistance points. So for me, already quite surprised with how well the dollar's done. There were some signals that it would continue. It did that. And, some little zoomed in signals like here closing at the horizontal suggested more strength. But now I really think it's time to pull back. I mean, if there's some crazy event and everyone, uh, rushes to the dollar, then it could have a little moment of extra blowout movement, which I think it might even reverse immediately because I just feel like there's too much resistance and it's had too much of a steep ascending move. So I think we're going to come back down here. I mean, on Friday, we actually punctured a little higher than where I've got this one at 3.5. By the way, next resistance is really 104.5. I don't even think 104 counts. So I might as well add that in just to make it even more polluted. But I think we're going to come back down. And obviously, once you start closing daily with a daily candle below this ascending, then you can really think about a pullback. I think the first pullback will be 102, maybe a little bounce, and then we'll see from there. But I think the dollar index is due for a pullback next week. Let's see what happens. Anything can happen. Yields, of course, I don't really want to go through yields too much. I'll just show you quickly the 2 and the 10. Look at this. Once we hit 5%, 5.10%, that's really going to trigger markets. Let's see how the dollar reacts to that, the market reacts to that. And by the way, how does gold and silver react to the market going down? I think the market is due to continue going down. I mean, before we've seen gold go up when the market goes down, you never know. I do think gold this time will go up if the market goes down, like last time. Last time it was led by a banking crash. I think this time it'll be similar. I think there'll also be more banks going down. So keep an eye on the interest rates. By the way, the 10-year, look at that. They're all the way up here. I mean, I cover the interest rates every video. I think it's the most important asset class to watch. The point is we've got yields looking like they want to blow out even more. The dollar index looks like a 2, but I think that's going to reverse. And, markets, I think they're going to go down. Having said all that, let's look at gold and silver straight away. So gold, it's been coming down. We've got this descending trend line, which is really the barometer from which we can be more conclusive that a bounce is due. I mean, once you have a close above this, I really think it's going to bounce a decent amount, $20, $30 at least. I think next week we're going to have that. I just feel like, I've seen so many charts like this where it just comes down so much. I don't even know the oversoldness, the RSI. I don't follow that as much anymore because I've seen oversold patterns get even more oversold. But a global commodity like gold, I think support is around 1900. Okay, we've lost it, but just below, we've got this 1885. I think it's due for a pop. Obviously, we need the dollar to retrace. But I've just noticed that gold is ready to pop, especially silver, by the way, ready to pop when the dollar retraces. So let's see what happens. Next week, I think we're due for a pop. And maybe 1920 is the first resistance, but I think the first major resistance will be around 1940. It's not obvious here. We're looking at where it was before. This was support, it was resistance, and then even a little bit here, it was support. So let's see if we do go lower for, whatever reason, maybe the dollar index just pumps, there's some data that was released, or yields go up, markets freak out and everything gets sold. We've seen that too, where it's just dollar up, VIX up, yields up, everything else down. Just in case, then, if we lose 1885-ish, maybe this zone here, 1870, you can see this high here also. I mean, I think it's between 1860 and 1870, definitely. But let's move to silver. I think silver will create the floor, just as silver sort of saved gold a little bit last week. I feel like silver is obviously outperforming gold, right? It hasn't even flushed this zone here, the June low. And even if we do flush lower, I mean, first of all, we've got this 22.2 sort of mini support. Then we've got 22.10, it's the same thing. And then 22 a round number, but also this ascending, which to be honest, you know, we're going to be trading here next week. It's pretty much the same thing. So we've got two pretty decent trend lines. Look at this one here, this ascending is very credible to me. So $22 should be serious support. And even if it flushes 22, all these people have their stops and it goes to 21.7, straight away I expect a reversal and a close around 22, probably above 22. And that might be the low. And that probably coincides with gold. I don't know, maybe gold hits this, you know, 1860 and then just reverses and starts to close in the 1880s. But I think if we do get a flush, we'll get some violent retracement and a bullish hammer reversal. So, but of course, everything depends on the dollar, yields market and all that. But just looking at gold and silver isolated, I feel like they're really due for a bounce. Silver is outperforming gold and silver could provide the support for gold if it's necessary. All right, let's look at the miners. Miners, they've underperformed. I mean, they've, you know, gold and silver are pretty much around here relative to GDX, sort of 29-ish, whereas GDX has obviously underperformed. We're down here. For me, it looks like it wants to reverse. If we do go lower, then of course 26.7-ish is support. If we do rally, I think we will rally, then prior support should become resistance. So let's say around 28.8 or 29, pretty much. 29 should become resistance on the GDX. But who knows, if you close above 29, then maybe you've got a bigger rally coming. So yeah, really 26.7 to 29, those are the next levels. This one here for me is totally irrelevant. And the gap didn't really matter. GDXJ, very similar to GDX, of course. Outperforming GDX, not really. Underperforming the metals also. But look at this hammer. This is a reversal hammer to me. You know, closed above yesterday's low and closed a high of day. And it's due for a bounce, knowing what gold and silver have done recently. So for me, GDXJ, if we move up, I don't even think we'll stop here. This is also not incorrect, just I don't think it will count on the move up. I'll leave it there because it was obviously the low from down here, but I just feel like we would reverse and go all the way up here, actually 35. I don't think it'll be a 1 or 2 day move. I think it'll be a 3 or 4 day move. So for me, GDXJ 35 on the way up, and of course on the way down, we've got 32.3. All right, that's out the way. Let's look at the portfolio. Obviously, that the miners. So Newmont, very interesting. That's underperformed for a while. Lots of news surrounding it. It's got its own chart pattern. But look at, I mean, first of all, we're absolutely near the lows from down here, the absolute low. So, but also look at this trend line. Cutting through here, hitting this pivot, and then here. So we've got two very strong long-term trend lines. We know what, you know, how much GDX, GDXJ have come down, gold and silver. If we do get a reversal, it should be pretty decent in Newmont. So first resistance is 40, big round number, also the last support. If we go higher, probably 41, actually. Don't usually get too zoomed in about it, but probably 41. And if we get higher than that, then to be honest, before we start hitting this horizontal of 44, you'll probably get this descending line, which is very credible to me. Look at this, 1, 2, 3 over several periods. So for me, you've got these resistance points on the way up, 40, 41. And then if we keep going, it depends how long it takes, probably around 43. So before 44, I expect 44 to be decent resistance. So that's support and resistance on Newmont. Barrick Gold, you can see most of them are not as oversold as Newmont. So look at this horizontal. We've sort of hit a bit of a bottom there. Looks like it wants to reverse. If we go higher, I don't think we'll stop at 15, 16. I think we'll go a little higher. Not sure about this ascending, if it'll actually count. It's so close to the horizontal. Maybe we go straight up and go to sort of 16.5-ish or even higher. It's not really too obvious, the resistance. I think it's just a bit too close over here. So Barrick Gold, if it does rally with the sector, probably looking at high 16s before it retraces, maybe just before 17. I'm going to put that in there for me. If we flush, we will go lower, but actually I feel like this is too far to travel. And knowing how close support is for silver, and some of the miners very nearby, the GDX and GDXJ, I think we would probably go here actually, which is 15, just above 15. So that's what I'm looking at for Barrick Gold on the way down, just above 15. It's not going to hit 15 exactly. It's probably 15, it's 0.21 or something. And on the way up, it depends what's happening in the markets, in the sector in general, but at least 16, if not sort of 1689 or something is what I'd be looking at. Agnico-Eagle. So this is looking like the GDX chart very much. So if GDX comes back down, then 44.7-ish, maybe even 45, because it's such a good stock. So it might get bought up just before it flushes 45. So let's just say 45-ish or just a little below. On the way up, then first resistance should be 48. Next should be 49, nice and simple. If it goes higher, then it probably coincides with these two trend lines, the descending one and also this horizontal. So that'll be around 50. Actually, sorry, a bit higher than 50. So by then, probably 50.49 would be a good sell. But I don't need to add any trend lines there. If we flush this, then something serious is going on in this sector, and 41 is probably the next point. I'll add it anyway. I doubt very much we get down there, and what a steal that would be for Agnico-Eagle. Wheaton, which had bad news, that went down to the trend line, flushed it, kept going. We are actually at support now. Look at this low from down here, and it's trying to close around there. So 41, might as well add it because it seems to be true. So if the sector bounces straight away on Monday, then 41 is support. And where's resistance? Well, maybe 44, because I think that's where the bad news started. But of course, 45, I doubt we get to 46, 44, 45, 46. You probably have to machine gun yourselves, little sell, little sell, little sell. But I doubt it just goes right above 46 and keeps going. So if Wheaton from 44 onwards, I expect some resistance. I'm not going to add that because for me, I wouldn't be selling there. I like this as a long-term defensive hold. So I'm not going to put a trend line where it won't matter for me. If we go down, then of course this sort of 38 zone, maybe just above 38.51. If you want to buy this zone, you want to add at 38.51 in case it never goes below and then you miss it. So 38.51 and on the way up 44 to 46. Pan American Silver, first of all, zoom out. This is a great stock. Look how low we are. Look at this ascending support. So for me, very strong support. If we even get here, I mean, 15 should be serious support. I think it wants to curl where it is now already. So I would say roughly where we are now, 15. I mean, what's the difference between 15 and 15.25? Nothing. So we are at support. I think it's pretty strong support. If we go lower than this, ascending should be support. So before this low, I don't think it will hit this low. I think it would, rally around 14.51. If we go up, immediate resistance is this 15.9 zone. I might as well add it because after that, there's not much resistance. So to be honest, it had good news. It's a great stock. It's super cheap. So I think it could make this run to 17 very easily. So if there's a big bounce in the sector, then 17 should be feasible. All right, Aris Mining. This one's been crushed. It's pretty much at support. It's hard to tell. This is not the most liquid stock. It's got a pretty big spread in the bid and the ask. So I don't take these low candles too seriously. Basically, $2 is support. We're pretty much there. So we're at support. By the way, below that, have I put the trend line in? Yeah, I have. 1.6. I doubt it gets there. But there you go. If we do flush, then you're flushing $2. And you're going to go down quite a bit. What's that 20% drop from there? On the way up, you'd expect this 2.25-ish zone to be resistance, but yeah, that's a little less than 10% move. It could be a little resistance. I just feel like it would do more, 2.4 or higher. But it's not one I'm looking to sell at 2 point. I'm not looking for a quick trade on this one. This one's a long term. If I zoom out, it's got a lot of potential. I think it's a very good stock. So I think if I was to make little sells on this, it's probably where you see these horizontals. So just before 2.6, 2.7. Okay, Mag Silver. Let's see where that is. We've got a low point, or it's pretty much just had good earnings, good news. So that was That was pretty impressive, but then it had to come down with the sector. It's at support now. It could go a little lower, 10.5. If we lose that, then yeah, 9 is where I have my support. I agree with that. Obviously, I did it. But no, I'm flexible. I can readjust. So 9, I don't think we get there, but it's possible if the sector flushes for whatever reason. On the way up, look at the last candles we've had here, just above 11.5. I don't expect to get through that too quickly. So maybe there, I'm not going to add a trend line there because I'm not going to sell there. I think it wants to go higher because it's had good news. It's just forced down because the sector. But then this descending is so credible to me. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would be 5 when we get there. So just below 12, which would be a round number. So that's Mag Silver Goldfields, absolute flush, come all the way down to here. So that had bad news. And it's been over. I mean, for me, it was one that I was selling on the way up big time, not buying on the way down, because compared to all these other good stocks, it was too high. I'm very happy to have not bought because look, it came down even more. And, I had this trend line in for a while, and that's where I happened to have found support, 11.5, kind of a number out of nowhere. And there's no obvious, okay, it was a bit resistance here. But the reason it held there is because of this ascending, in my opinion. If you're in it and you want to buy it for a move up, where's the sell? Probably the gap fill here. So I would probably sell it. I don't know. I want to say 12.49 just to make sure you get a little bit out. If it keeps going higher, maybe the gap fill 12.69. And then if it goes even more, 12.99. I'd machine gun those 3 numbers and be, I don't know, probably 50% out because by then it's very unlikely to keep going up. And you've probably got other miners that are better buys at that point. Or maybe the whole sector's due for a pullback because it'd probably take the sector to go up, for Goldfields to go up. It's just had bad news. It's very unlikely to go up. On the way down, horizontals, 10.5, gap fill, 9.71-ish. And we'll see from there. Fortuna, that had bad news. I did actually add a little bit to it because I have all my silver miners. I want them to have sort of the same amount of value. I added to it, but I thought not the best to add to because it's just had bad news and it's kind of finding support in the middle of nowhere. I don't see this as particular support. If we go down, 2.6. If we go up, then 3, 2.99, of course. If it goes higher, then well, why sell at 306 if you're going to sell 299? You'd want more than that. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I wouldn't even sell. I'd probably look for this entire move here, 3.20. So I'd probably sell at 319. It's not the. Yeah, I'd sell 299 and 319, I guess. If it moves down, then of course there's 2.6. EXK, we are completely at support. I added to this. So this can move higher, of course. I think it will. It needs to reverse. It's had a crazy move down. It's a good stock. So we're at support. If we go lower, 2.5. If we go higher, honestly, I see 3.3. And then if it keeps going, 3.6. First Majestic. It's trying to find support here. You see, I'm going to change it because that's what the reality is. So we're finding support just below 6, around 5.8. If we go up, then 6.4. That's the first support. If it keeps going after that, 6.8, then 7. So I might add this little one here. If it goes lower, then yeah, I see this ascending. If I zoom out, you can see where it comes from. Very, very credible, very much oversold. So that's your first Majestic. Coeur d'Arlène bounced perfectly, and I bought this. Had to trust that. Look at after flushing this. I zoom in after flushing this very important 2.6 support. It bounced here out of nowhere, but it's not out of nowhere. It's from this trend line that I had. Don't know how many people had that. Very violent, strong bounce. It's probably the best bounce so far out of all the miners I've got. And next resistance should be this zone here, 2.6, of course. Like I said, that was support, so 2.59. I am not selling what I bought here. I'm looking for the whole sector to bounce a bit. And I think if the whole sector does bounce, it's going to do more than that and probably go to 2.8, maybe a bit higher. And I'll probably sell when it starts to hit this descending trend line. But Coeur is my favorite for a bounce in the miners, or generally if the miners go up, Coeur does very well. And so far it's done very well here. Finally, Discovery, look at this destruction just all the way down. Look at this horizontal resistance that it was here back in the day, you know, just above 50 cents, call it 50 cents, and we're there now, 50 cents. So for me, it should bounce, but not the best candle so far. If it flushes, if it goes up, first of all, we got 60 cents. After that, 70 cents. Those are big moves for little penny sort of stock miners. But if it flushes this, I don't actually know. I guess it would be 40 cents. It's a nice 10. I guess every 10 cents it should find some support, but I haven't put one in. I haven't added to it. I think I bought a while ago, you know, several weeks ago. I think it was down here in the 60s. So for me, 50 is too close, and I'm happy with the value that it's at. I don't want to have too much. I don't think about how much it can go up. So it's more about how much it can go down. All right, that's my very quick recap of the portfolio, the miners. I hope that was useful, and I hope you prefer this sort of quicker video. Enjoy your weekend.